So for today's video, we're going to be making a really simple but cute kind of ruffly top. I'm making it out of this red and white palaka print. And I got this fabric from June Fabrics. And they're a local company here in Hawaii. And they make a lot of different prints, like palaka prints. And they have really cute ones. Like I also bought this guava. It's like a peachy pink print. I also bought it in the blue and yellow, which is my alma mater colors, I guess. Super cute and like super high quality. So here is my fabric. I already have it cut out and it is 33 inches and 16 inches long. And when you're cutting out fabric, this palaka fabric is extra easy to cut out because of the stripes. When you cut out fabric, I like to try to keep the right sides facing inwards. That way for like things like this, like the next step for me is going to be, sewing and serging down the sides. You can just like go ahead and start sewing. Whereas if you had it right sides out, you're going to have to take it apart, refold it. I don't know, just an extra step and another place where you can make an error, right? And also for prints like this where the right side and the wrong side are very similar, I feel like this side's just a tiny bit more vibrant. So I marked it with a piece of chalk like that on both sides, just so that I know that for sure that this is the wrong side and that's underneath is the right side. So many times I've gotten confused and say the lining is a little bit different by my sewing machine, then I just can't tell which one's the right side and wrong side. I have my piece of fabric and it's still right sides in. All I did was serge both of the ends and made it into one big tube. And then I serged the top. So I had some random serger issues where it was making these loopy serges. So it doesn't really matter for this top one since it's just to cover the raw edge. I did reserge the ones on the side though because the stitches were too loose. So when I was pulling it, you could see the white thread. Random serger troubleshooting errors. I think I had to like change the thread to white and I didn't check to make sure all the little threads were in the tension disc really well. So my left needle, if this makes sense, was too loose. And that's what creates these loopy kind of stuff on the back. Like it looked okay from the front, so I didn't notice at first. But when I turned it around, I was like, oh no. And I already kind of did the whole thing. So I didn't, instead of like cutting off this 1/4 inch of material, since I am kind of cutting it short on the length, I'm just going to leave it because I'm going to turn it down on anyways. So the right sides are still in. Now we are going to press the top down by, I think, 2 1/4. I think earlier I was doing a measurement for 2.5 inches. I realized maybe this is like, I'm a little scared of it running too short on me. So I'm going to do it 1 1/4. And I have my Easy Press, Cricut Easy Press Mini. And I have my seam gauge. And I'm going to turn it down 2 1/4 inches. And it's super easy with this kind of fabric where you have like built-in guidelines. And the way I'm thinking is I'm going to make a seam at the 1 inch line because this is how much I'm going to have for my ruffle. And because I'm using this 1/2 inch elastic, the casing is going to be from the 1 inch line to, I would say like this 2 inch line. I'm going to stitch around here. So let me just iron this down all the way around. I'm going to make my seam allowances go towards the back. So I'm going to designate one side that's going to be the back. Okay, the whole thing is pressed. And the first stitch I'm going to make is 1 inch from this edge all the way around, continuous. Okay, so I have my red thread in my sewing machine. I have my stitch length at 2.5. And for this sewing machine, I always have to bring like my sewing gauge or ruler and actually measure the margin or the seam allowance, I guess you would say, because the needle moves pretty far from left to right. I don't know. Okay, so we're just going to sew all the way around, continuous from end to end at this line. Okay, so I went all the way around, I cut my threads, and now we're going to sew the elastic casing. So you can go from the middle of the back and do it. I don't know. We're already here at the side seam, and I think it'll be fine if we start from here. So really up to you. You want to start it in the middle of the back or not. This one we're going to leave about maybe a 2 to 3 inch gap opening so we can thread the elastic through. I want it to be about 1 inch from this line, so it's pretty easy. Yeah, we're just gonna start there and go all the way around. There's not really a line here. You can put like a piece of washi tape, but also I think I'm just gonna start sewing on the edge of the serge line. I think that'll be good enough. This is a very casual type of outfit. So now we are ready for the elastic. So I just have a tape measure. I'm going to measure, I guess this is called your upper bust. So the above where you can think, where do you want that tube top part to be, right? 33. So I'm going to cut the elastic to 32 inches. And then when we sew it together, we're going to overlap a little bit. So that'll have like maybe like 2 inches for that give so that it holds up the shirt. So I'm going to cut it to 32 inches. Okay, so I have one of these things. I always forget the name of this tool. It's made by Clover, which is the brand, and gosh, I always forget what this is called, but this is such a useful tool. I love this. I don't know how many times I've used this. You can also use a safety pin, but once you use something like this, you kind of just always want to use it. It just makes it a lot easier to sew through. Okay, so where is that little gap in the stitching? Right here. Okay. I think because it's long, so you can bunch it up like this and then pull it through. You can do it with like the safety pin. It's just you only have this much to work with when you're like, you know, bunching it up and then pulling it. This one you have a lot in it. So there is that little seam allowance in there. So just trying to find your way in the middle. And just make sure you're not going to pull it all the way through. And also make sure that you're pulling it through flat as you can. This plastic piece is also like flat, so you can feel like the elastic is not twisting. So at this point, you might want to hold on to this so you can pull all the gathers down. Make sure it's flat, and then we're going to fold them onto each other and overlap about 1 inch. I'm just going to clip it for now. At this point, you could try it on if you're that curious about it. Actually, you know what? Looking at it now, I think maybe I want the casing to be smaller after all of that work. Yeah, I think I do want it smaller. So we're going to redo this. And this is good. It'll show you what it looks like, because this is how the gathers would look around the top. And I feel like it's not that gathered, right? When you're wearing it, I don't know. Let's turn it right side out. So this is what it would look like from the outside. And yeah, I guess I would want the casing to be a little bit smaller. So instead of having it 1 inch here, I think I'm going to sew above this line 1/4 of an inch and then seam rip this one. And then it'll be like a tighter casing. So I'm going to go ahead and do all that and come back. Okay, so I finished the smaller casing and I seam ripped the old one. And now we're back at the elastic part. And yeah, it looks like the elastic casing or the gathering is better. Yeah, I'm kind of liking how it looks more gathered. What do you think? I think it looks a little bit better. I could have even went a tiny bit smaller, but you know, that's okay. So let's go ahead and sew this elastic together. I'm just overlapping it about an inch, and I'm going to go up and down in 2 spots, like, and do a zigzag stitch. Okay, so I made my zigzag stitch. Is nice and strong. Now let's pull this extra elastic in, and let's see, we can try it on. Okay, so this is what it looks like so far, and yeah, this is good. I could probably have made it a little bit tighter for the elastic, maybe overlapped it a little bit. It'll hold up. It's not going to go anywhere. Plus I am going to add straps. So yeah, so let's close up the casing. So let's turn it inside out again. Sorry, I'm so close to the camera, which is just very small sewing space. So this is a part where I have that 2-inch gap. I'm just going to go ahead and sew right over there. Okay, so I absolutely hate it when the elastic twists inside of a casing. So what I'm going to do is just grab both ends of the tube, I guess, and we're just going to kind of like stretch it out. And it's just so that the gathers are all even. And you can kind of tell if one side has more gathers, if more elastic is on one side. Once it looks really even like this, I'm just going to stitch down right here in the ditch. So kind of like stitch in the ditch right here on this side and on this side, right in the seam. And that'll kind of help it not twist too much while you're wearing it. Okay, so now I'm going to just add my tag on the inside, and really it's just so that I don't get confused about which is the front and the back. You can do this at any time, you don't have to do it at this point, but all I'm going to do is stitch it in right here. Let me find the center. You can mark it with chalk or whatever you want, but I think I can tell it's this red line right here. And just going to put it in the middle. I'm not going to stitch on top of the elastic, but just right there. Okay, so that looks really cute. And I love adding tags to my stuff. I did make sure to stretch it out so that it wouldn't pull on this when you're stretching right here. And it does leave 2 little sewing lines down here, but on most garments you really can't tell, and I think it just adds so much. Like when you pick it up and you look at it, it just looks so much, I don't know, cuter, professional, whatever you want to call it. And I'm gonna go ahead and try it on. Sorry, I'm wearing my shirt that I wore to tennis underneath it, but this is what it looks like and how long it is. This shirt is a little long. This would be where my waist is, like where the band starts. So it's kind of getting short, right? Like I don't want to hem it too much. So if I was going to start again, I probably would have added an inch the length. I should have maybe accounted for the inch of ruffle that's going to go up here, and also your bust too. I mean, I don't have a huge bust, but if you did, it would be like a little bit tempting, like this, and it'll be even higher. So I mean, I kind of wanted it cropped. I didn't want it like show your stomach cropped though. So luckily for this top, like if you raise your arms, it's not going to move too much. It is longer in the back because of the bust length, and I guess depending on if you pull up that elastic. For the hem, I'm going to keep it really small. So I think a 1/4 inch rolled hem. But if I do a double turn under, it will make the top a little more structured at the bottom because you're doubling up the fabric. Maybe the serge is better. Okay, let's try the serge and see. Okay, so everything's serged, and if you're particular like me, I don't know, I like this part of the serge to be on the outside always, and then this part on the inside. It's just one of those details, I don't know. But now we're going to turn it up 1/2 inch and press all the way around. I'm just going to go ahead and hem around with a 4mm stitch all the way around. Okay, so this is what it looks like. Afterwards, I will try it on with shorts and not this top. But yeah, it looks cute. Another option I was thinking you could probably do is create, if you made it a little bit longer, or maybe if you could do it either way, but you could have made another elastic casing at the bottom, like a small one, and then it would like kind of pull it in, and that would be really cute too. So maybe, who knows, maybe we'll end up doing that if I don't like how wide it is at the bottom. So I saved the straps till last, or till this point, because I didn't know if I wanted like tiny little spaghetti strap or if I wanted like a thick, like a 1-inch type strap. And I don't know, I think I'm gonna go with the dainty straps and just have them like tied at a bow. And dainty, well, I'm thinking like a 1/2-inch type of strap. So let's measure to see how long these straps should be. So I'm gonna leave like maybe this much for tying the bow portion, because we don't want it to be like a tiny, tiny little bow, right? We want it to be like a decent bow, like maybe this size. So let's measure from here and let's be generous, and we're gonna sew it about here, but let's add on a couple inches. So let's say 25 inches and times 4. So 25, I'm gonna cut 4 strips. We want it to be 1/2 inch. So 1/2 inch, 1 inch plus seam allowance. So a 2-inch strap by 25. 2 by 25 times 4. Okay, so this is what the top looks like with just the elastic, and it's not bad. It doesn't show anything. If you wear high-waisted pants, this length is perfect. Well, I'm 5'1". I have a crazy idea. I think I'm going to take out the hem and I'm going to put another row of elastic, not with the ruffle, but just like take out the hem, fold it up 3/4 of an inch and do a casing, and yeah, try and see if having it be elasticized at the bottom looks cuter. So I'll take a photo and then try it with the elastic and then take another one, I guess. But yeah, I mean, I see a lot of people wear this type of top where it's just a tube top with elasticized top and bottom, and I think it looks cute. It might be a little bit more flattering because this is pretty wide, especially if it's windy, it's gonna go like that. I do still want to do the straps, but now I don't know which side is going to be the top or bottom, because sometimes when you see like these tops, the ruffle is at the top or it could be at the bottom, especially if you have like straps or something up here. So we'll see. So I'm going to go ahead and just do the elastic. I won't show it on camera because it's pretty self-explanatory. It's pretty much the same thing as this. Just fold it up 3/4 of an inch and stitch. And for the elastic length, I'm going to do exactly the same elastic measurement as this one, because this one's a little bit loose. So, and I tried to flip it around and it does fit on my waist too. But if your waist is bigger or smaller or whatever, you will have to have different measurements. So I put in the elastic and it came out really good. I used the same measurement of elastic, 33 inches for the top and the bottom. And I kind of like it. I wish I didn't use so much fabric for the width. So I doubled my bust size, right? My fullest bust size. I think I could go like maybe 1.5 instead of double, like it's okay, but it's just very full, especially in the back. And it's all right, but I just wish it was like a little bit less full. I'm also not gonna do the straps. I think it looks better like this with just this ruffle and not have all this stuff going on over here. It's a lot of material, I feel like, for just this area. So I feel like more of the pattern would just be kind of like too much. Maybe if I did it like a little bit slimmer, like where it wasn't so full, it would look cute with the I guess the bows and the tie straps. But yeah, right now I think it's just too much material. This is what it looks like with the ruffle on the bottom. And I think it looks cute too. Like I like this. So depending on where you want the emphasis to be, do you want it to be up here or if you want it to be here, like if your waist is smaller, or if you want to like cover anything that you don't want to show, I feel like the ruffle helps a little bit. But yeah, so this would be a cute option, I think, if you do the ties, because then it's like there's some decorative elements up here, but also down here, and it kind of balances out better. Okay, so I tried on the top. I showed my husband, and even he said that it would look better. It looks good, but it would look better if it's like a little less poofy. So in order to wear what I make, because that's my biggest problem. I make a lot of stuff and I end up not wearing it because of one thing or another. And it's stuff like this. Like I'll be like, oh, it's just a little bit too poofy. Like I don't want to wear it on, like a day I'm going to see people that I know. So I am going to fix it. Originally, I did double, right? So I had 33 as my fullest bust size. I believe that's what I went with. And so I made this tube, I guess, 66 inches. And so if I times 33 by 1.75, so that ended up being about 57 something. I rounded down. So now I'm going to minus that amount. So 57 from 66, which is 9 inches. So I want to take off 9 inches. And because this is a folded, tube, I'm going to take off 4.5 inches. And, ideally you'd want to take off a little bit from both sides. But because it's a tube, it shouldn't matter. The only thing that matters is I've already put in the tag, my tag, and that's going to be off center unless I fix it. But that is actually a really easy fix. So I will go ahead and do that. But for now, I'm going to measure 4.5 inches. I guess it's just to this line, this white line right here. That's going to be hard to see. But I am going to just cut it and then try to re-stitch it together. The reason I can't just serge on the sides is because I do want to preserve the casings. I already did the 2 elastic casing. It'll be really easy for me to just cut it, open it up a little bit, sew, this seam, and then kind of reattach them. And I can also use that for the elastic casing too. Yeah, really shouldn't be that hard. Hopefully cutting out this much will make enough of a difference. So now I'm just going to seam rip maybe 2 inches here and 2 inches here, just enough so I can open this up and serge down this side. Well, actually I have to take off 2 inches here also and here. Okay, so the 9 inches are cut off. It was more like 10 inches because I also had to allow for the seam allowance. So all I did was serge all the way down. I sewed this top one because this is like the one that goes all the way around. And I have this opening ready for my elastic casings. I'm just going to use the same elastics. I just pulled them out and I cut off, what is this? About an inch, a tiny bit, like 1.25 inches. So 2.5 inches off the width of the elastic, which is actually okay because I think I made it too big. It was a little too loose. It was comfortable, but it could have been smaller. So I just got to find that bodkin, which is the word I was looking for before. And let's reinsert the elastics. I'm going to go ahead and do this and then safety pin them and then try it on. So just to make sure before I stitch it all up again that this looks good. And I don't think it's too much. I think it might just be just enough, maybe a little too little bit. So this is what the top looks like without or minus 9 inches of fabric. And I think it looks a lot better. It's still poofy, but without being overly poofy. I didn't want it to be not poofy enough, and then it kind of looks weird. It's just like, not gathered when it's supposed to be gathered. So this is what the back looks like. It's still, a little poofy, and I still want to make sure to raise the back. So or pull it down so it's not, you know, sticking out this way too much. But overall, a lot better. So use that 1.75, what do you call it? Measurement, I guess. But yeah, I mean, I could probably have also gone like maybe an inch less, but you know, I think this is good enough. So I finished everything exactly the way that I did it earlier, where I sewed the two ends of the elastic here so that it won't, one, it'll like stay evenly gathered, and it also won't twist. It could twist a little bit, but once you pull it like this, it should untwist easily. And to make the gathers even, just kind of pull it out on the sides where you have it sewn, and it kind of evens it out, and then you can kind of flatten it down if you want. But it was totally worth the 5 minutes of seam ripping, and yeah, just a lesson for myself to always make the adjustment. Don't just, you know, move on to the next project and then not wear the garment, or, you know, toss it aside, just wasting space in your closet. I hope you try out this top. You know, it has so many different versions that you can like try just from this one, you know, rectangle. And one day I will do the straps, maybe on a less busy print, it'll look cuter. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.